You ready to do this thing?
Oh yeah!
Let's get into it.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the Sweaty Casuals podcast brought to you by Snowflake Sanctuary Discord server. This is a podcast where we usually talk about the games we love to play, from the state of ranked systems to our thoughts on the newest sensations and everything in between. My name is Tyler, along with my co-host Zach. We will be your guide as we traverse Elo Hell. Small reminder, we do swear, so viewer discretion is advised. Today we are joined by none other than himboahTV and Paradox. They are going to be telling us about fighter games and
Your
stuff.
guide to the fighter game lore.
Hell yeah. So I wanted to break it off with a little icebreaker question here. So with so many crossover fighting games like Super Smash Bros. And Mortal Kombat bringing in guest characters, do you guys think it adds or distracts from the experience?
Ads.
Definitely.
Why
I
is
think
that?
would be. Yeah, like I still remember when Brawl came out. I was like 13 at the time, and the hype around when Sonic was put on the cover and when like Snake was put on the cover. Those were two characters, especially because I think it was Metal Gear 3 had recently come out or was recently, one of the top hits at that point. So you had so many people that absolutely love those characters that when Snake was removed in Smash 4 and then brought back for Ultimate, that was a really, really big deal. So
People were screaming their head off
Yeah.
for that.
Going absolutely. I mean, he was also in the moment where it was like everybody's here, and they revealed that everybody that had ever been in a Smash game was back.
Mhm.
But at the same time, too, you just have so many more fan bases that start getting involved with these games because they have those individual characters that come in. So
It's fair. Mortal Kombat
Unless-
has really made me think about it adding the boys.
I was gonna say, unless you're a Mortal Kombat like old head, and then you just don't like any of the guest characters that they get, like Conan or the Terminator, or a lot of people complaining about that right now, which I find hilarious.
I think like when they added Joker, that was the first big one I can remember them really adding, besides maybe like Spawn or something like that. But
Spawn
like,
was dope.
yeah, Spawn was dope. But like Joker belongs in that game. That he kind of got to shine there as far as the character goes. So I feel like it's good for both the character and the game sometimes.
I'm trying to think too, like one of the whole gimmicks of Soul Calibur is the custom character build, and people build ridiculous shit in there. They build like I always see the ones where people build like Ninja Turtles all the time for Soul Calibur. It's right, and they look horrifying. One person built like a Yoshi, and it was just a green man, and it was absolutely terrifying to just find those. But just putting some random IP in there, yeah, it absolutely adds to the games.
Yeah, like when Soul Calibur 2 came out for the GameCube and they had Link as a playable character. Like, I still come across TikTok live streams where they are just streaming Soul Calibur 2 and all they're playing is Link.
Yeah, I mean, it was Soul Calibur that also had Darth Vader in it for a while, and was that I think that
And
was the
Yoda.
fourth one, and Yoda. Yeah, it was like Vader and Yoda
In the same game.
Yep, and I think they were unlocked by like having Battlefront, or it was like unlocked by having another game. So it's just mutually good for everybody. So
Then you go over to a game like Dead or Alive 4 where they had one of the Spartans from Halo as a playable character, Spartan 2. Nicole, as they call her. I think it's Nicole, if I'm remembering correctly.
My Halo lore is pretty strong, but I don't remember a Nicole, but that doesn't mean there isn't one.
Yeah, apparently they made a separate lore for that game saying that she got transported to an alternate universe where it was the Dead or Alive universe, and she was just a fighter there.
Huh.
Don't quote me on the lore, though, because that's just the TLDR, basically.
That just goes to show how far the Halo lore really goes.
Yes.
Look, we could do a whole
Gets
episode on
real,
that. Maybe
real
we
deep.
should.
Yeah.
My thoughts on it is it's just good. I mean, my experience with fighting games is pretty limited. I'm gonna be in the back seat for today.
I'll be so real with you. This is gonna be more of an interview than a podcast.
Whatever works.
I'm
Yeah.
the one big one that I have though is like I played a lot of Melee.
Melee is so
And
good.
it's so good. It really is. It's impressive how good it is still, even after God, how old is that game now? Well, over 20 years old. But
Do you play Slippy a lot, the online version, or do you stay away from that now?
no, I still have my GameCube.
Oh, nice.
But
Old school.
when I was looking at footage for Ultimate, and when I got a Switch, I have a Switch Lite, not a regular Switch, but when I was thinking about, oh, should I get it? One of the things I was considering was like, oh man, they have all these new characters, and some of them are pretty cool, and some of them are things that actually enhance the game. Like Steve seems really interesting. It seems like there's a whole play style there.
Steve
is so
Minecraft?
broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is arguably the best character in Smash Ultimate, because he just has so many mechanics some say they don't fit with the play styles of a lot of other characters, which is why he's really broken. Some would say he's just broken because lots of many reasons, but definitely arguably the best character in that game now. He's like when Bayonetta was in Smash 4 when she got released, and then they stopped doing patch updates, and everybody was playing her. Like they had Evo 17 or 18 or something like that, and 7 out of the top 8 players were Bayonetta players, all the way up to grand finals.
And that's the one where they have the famous shot too, where they both just hold neutral B, and like with Bayonetta, she charges the gun with neutral B, and they're just on opposite stages, and it's just like charging the gun, and it's just like whoever releases first will get like 0 to death off the top. Because
This was
that was
pro
just,
play?
Yeah, they got in
Oh
trouble
my
for that
God.
actually.
Yeah.
They got in trouble for stalling the game doing that because they held the button for about a minute and a half, or how long was it? It was like
over a
I
minute.
forgot. Yeah, it was over a minute at least, and they're like, "Oh, well, you guys got to play because you're stalling the game now."
Oh my God.
So that's
And that
always
was pretty much the last time Smash was an Evo.
yeah. Which is unfortunate. Steve is interesting though, just because of like the terrain or the ability to build the terrain. That's kind of like he has like broken frame data, similar to like Bayonetta and Brawl Meta Knight and like the characters that we see as OP from those individual games. But with Steve, because he's able to build a wall, he's able to get around so much.
Frame 1, mind
Yeah,
you.
exactly. And the thing is, though, is like, when's the last time Akola actually won a major? It's been a long time, and for you two, Akola is technically considered the best player in the world. He typically has very good results, and he plays Steve. He's like 16-year-old Japanese kid, right? And he plays Steve, and yeah, he's damn good at his job. But at the same time, like the last time he's won a big major, outside of Japan, especially, I think he's only won one major outside of Japan, maybe 2. So, it's different than when like Bayonetta was winning everything. Brawl Meta Knight was winning everything. So
They had to start banning him from tournaments because he was winning so badly.
right, and then Bayonetta was in the conversation of being banned, but then Smash Ultimate came out and nobody cared anymore. So, but I was frantically looking around for your copy of Melee that you gave me. So I thought I still had it on my desk, but I don't.
Did I give you a copy of Melee?
You gave me a copy of Melee. You gave me like Melee and Mario Sunshine once.
Oh, yeah,
Hell
I know where
yeah.
this
Yeah.
came from.
Because you had like extra, like
That's
an extra
not my
copy.
copy. I had
Yeah.
an extra copy.
You had an extra copy, and when you were moving out there, you were like, "Hey, take this," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't have a copy of Melee." So I had Brawl, I had 4, I had 64, but I didn't have a copy of Melee. So that is my copy of Melee now. Yep. But
So, with the whole talk about like Steve and stuff like that, kind of wanted to ask, do you guys think balance is more important or variety in a game roster? Like,
Ooh.
what tends to be more, I guess, friendly to the gaming community when it comes
I would
to
say
fighting?
I would say both because you can have really good variety in a roster, but it would be hard to keep that variety if everyone's playing one character because they're extremely broken. Like
That's fair.
with Tekken, for example, the best character in the game is by far Dragunov, Sergei Dragunov, because I don't know if you have been keeping up with tournaments for that recently, but Evo, a lot of other Tekken World Tour tournaments, most of the top 8 is Dragunov, or the person playing their main picks up Dragunov like match 3 because they're losing. And he's just that easy to pick up. So it definitely depends on balance too, because people will play the broken character
So I've seen.
if they're not hard.
My only experience with that is like in Siege, because every like season or whatever, they would release the map of like the most played characters compared to their win rates and stuff like that. I always felt like that was interesting to see. You could really see who the broken characters were.
Yeah, like Jackal.
Love me, Jackal. Don't shit on him. All right.
I think variety breeds balance as well. Just if
Mhm.
you're going to build more characters, at some point they're going to have a character that basically counters whatever is the top of the meta. And you see that a lot with, Smash. That's my game of background, so I'm going to reference Smash pretty often. That is,
You do what you got to do. That's fine. Perfect.
But even with that, Steve was considered the top broken character. They had some, changes here and there that ended up happening right before like the final patch for Smash, where Sora was released, and he was virtually untouched just because all of his broken stuff really hadn't been discovered yet. But as just time moved on, more and more people just learned how to play against him. And realistically, you end up seeing the people that win the tournaments are the ones that, yes, they're going to end up having a good counter pick into, the other character that ends up making it to Grands. But also at the same time, it's typically a character that is still considered a high tier, just not played very often. The most recent major was Riptide, and Grand Finals was Cloud versus Olimar,
Who was
which
that?
so it was Cloud was Spargo. And
Oh,
then I
let's
think
go.
he also ended up playing a little bit of Aegis in that matchup. I can't remember, but then Shuton's Olimar. So Shuton, big Japanese
Shuton's
player.
back. Let's go.
I know he's been playing, but again, beforehand, it's he ended up taking out one of my players, which was Sonics, and so Sonics got third. But like Sonics had to learn the Olimar matchup because he doesn't necessarily like it. He learned it about a year ago against DeBuzz, but he realistically hasn't played another Olimar in bracket for over a year. So when you kind of have that, it's like, okay, like this character is still very good. It's just that what is his practice options? It's Shuton. DeBuzz pretty much fully switched to Rosalina and hasn't really been going to tournaments. And then Candle also stopped going to a bunch of tournaments. That's a like 17-year-old kid from Minnesota who plays Olimar. And I think he also ends up playing Rosalina on the side anyways. So it's like there isn't good Olimar players. Myron was the other good Olimar player too, but he's pretty much stopped going to tournaments because, when players aren't going to be able to pick up characters, you just have somebody who's going to get really, really good at the character, and you're going to end up having some sort of variance anyways within the top level. So
It's true.
Yep.
Interesting. I'm just
To add on to that, like I
Yeah.
think, Paradox, you and I both do Pokemon, and Pokemon is another one where, even though there's been power creep over the years and things have changed and the newer Pokemon tend to be a little bit better, there's always like that one weird Pokemon from like way back when that somebody's like, actually, this counters everything right now. I think the one that jumps to mind is Quagsire. Quagsire, I think, is considered untiered.
That's incredible.
But it's because it gets unaware. It's like, oh yeah, this is a physical wall. It just sits there and says, and what?
Yeah, because you can't set up on it. So
Yeah.
Interesting. And even with some of the new Pokemon, they always end up putting some broken ability now on like the box legendary. But at the same time too, for the most part, they aren't what am I trying to say? Like they're not fully going gung-ho into a lot of like certain Pokemon anymore too. So it's some of the older Pokemon, they feel like they get forgotten about, but then, one person ends up playing them and it's like, oh, this is actually really good. So, yeah, I'm trying to even think of like another example, but I know a lot of the Pokemon games, especially when they started with the like new DLC for that, that ended up bringing in a lot more Pokemon. And there's talk on VGC, if I thought I saw this too, where they were going to ban all legendaries. Did you see that?
The newest rule set, I've been keeping up with VGC a little bit. And the newest rule set, they banned all. I believe it was all legendaries, all Paradox Pokemon, and the Treasures of Ruin. So, sorry, it's not all legendaries. It was the box legendaries. It was the restricted Pokemon. So no restricted Pokemon, no Paradox Pokemon, no Treasures of Ruin, I believe. Which is a pretty fundamental shift to the game because they did one restricted format already.
So, they're always trying to change things to make it new, but there's also over 1,000 Pokemon at this point.
Yeah.
At some point, you have it's kind of like a parabolic curve where it's like if you have too few, the game is just going to be completely unbalanced because it's going to be really clear like what everybody should play. Like
RBY,
Gen 1
yeah.
was. Yeah, RBY, exactly. It's like, all right, mechanics are messed up, and then it kind of just gets, lower and lower. Like a lot of people really like is it Gen 7 metagame was really good. Gen 7, Gen 8 was kind of considered good. Well, we didn't see a lot of evolution with Gen 8 because of COVID. But like Gen 7 was really good. And then now people are like, okay, we need to actually start having a, more referential ban list because this is just getting out of hand. At the same time, though, people are like, is it really? We can just find something, because there's over 1,000 of these creatures. So
yeah.
So
I think the bigger point that I was trying to say with it is just that like there's Pokemon that you can look at from a stat basis and just be like, that's good.
Yeah. It's like even now. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you look at Slacking at face value, even with Truant, you can still do things with that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at Quagsire, you look at the stats and you go, oh, that's not great. It's going to kind of get the crap beaten out of it. And it doesn't really matter because there's other ways that people have found that it's actually very valuable.
Right.
Gastrodon would be another good example. Gastrodon gets used for Storm Drain all the time, even though its stats aren't incredible.
Yeah. See, to add on what you're talking about with that like parabolic curve, because that's something you see a lot in like League of Legends and stuff too, because of all the players. But what I find interesting is you can see this a lot in like Rainbow Six Siege, where a game that is aiming to be, a 10-year game with adding characters constantly. League of Legends kind of does it is I feel like eventually the older characters reach a point where like they're not even feasible anymore because imagination for game developers has gone so far for different skills and stuff like that for each like character that eventually the older ones just have to be reworked in some way, So that's kind of that weird balance of the parabolic curve where it's like as you add more, it might dip more, or might have a harder time getting back up as far as balancing things out because not everything is going to stay meta,
It's also
that
kind of like
changing.
Games also, the longevity of them is questionable. We're on Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Smash 5. Had to think about that for a minute. Yeah, Smash 5. And so when you look at Melee, like we were saying, as a 20-year-old game, somebody just got like top 2 with Donkey Kong, who used to be considered a low tier, at one of the Melee events, and it's why? Because there's new tech where it's like he can do better landing grabs and then he's just going to like cargo throw you off of ledge. And then there's no way for you to escape because if you jump, you get hit with the neutral B. And if you don't end up jumping, he just has too many tools that are able to cover. And people just found ways to actually get around like the speed of Fox and the speed of Marth and the speed of Falco, right? So, and like the impenetrable wall that is Jigglypuff Bear. So,
and you're just talking about hardware changes, right? Like as far as like controllers and stuff go, how they've advanced.
No,
no.
New tech. Just the game has been around so long that somebody was like, hey, I've been playing DK so much. I found that if I input the buttons in this manner, in this way, like I can actually just get it into a point where I'm going to throw you off ledge and then checkmate you.
Wow.
With DK. I can't remember what tournament it was, but I know like more people have been picking up DK in Melee at this point just because, there was another one too where it's, like when you look at a lot of Melee tournaments, it's usually Puff, Falco, Fox, and Marth. Those are your top 4. But then you had like Amsa who won, I think it was Gommel. Might have been Gommel last year with Yoshi. There was, at like mid 2010, 2014s when Armada was really good. He was playing Peach at one point. There's like the occasional Captain Falcon, but there are those characters that like nobody plays, like Bowser and Pichu. Those are like the two that really don't see play. But DK was pretty low on that tier list, and then he appeared in, it might have been Riptide. Like part of me wants to Google it so someone else can talk, but
Well, I had another question here that I think is going to be real interesting, because when it comes to things like hardware and stuff like FPS games, you want the best keyboard or the best controller depending on what you're playing on. Some people swear by arcade sticks, while others prefer controllers. And I know this is going to give Noah a chance to show off his brand new controller that he just got.
Arcade sticks are the best.
Yeah. So I just kind of want to know, like, what's your guys' go-to setup for fighting games? I know Smash
Arcade
is
sticks
really
are the
big here,
best.
so.
Oh, my camera.
Who needs
yeah.
focus?
My like I was saying, just what's your go-to setup when it comes to fighting games? And that could be, I mean, Smash has been played on generations of consoles and stuff like that. Some people still prefer the old GameCube controllers, while some
GameCube
prefer the
controllers are the
new.
best for Smash.
Well,
I'll
that's
just
what
go
we're
ahead
here
and
to
say.
find out.
In my honest opinion.
Yeah, I had a buddy who swore by it. If you tried to grab the GameCube controller, because they like remade them or whatever for the Switch and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he
it's
was
the
very
Switch Pro controller.
Was
Yeah.
that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a special Pro controller that's in the layout of the GameCube controller, because like the GameCube controller is slightly different than the Pro, because it is
Okay.
like the A and B are right there, but they
Yep.
remade a Pro controller with the same map layout as the GameCube controller. So
With the X and the Y around the A button.
yeah, where instead of it being like the perfect diamond, it's like here's the A, here's the B button, and then you have the X and the Y on the tops.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different, but like honestly, it's whatever you're going to be comfortable with. If you, I look at a fighting stick. I actually had a couple of students that have like fighting sticks, and they use them specifically for Street Fighter and Tekken. And I look at the thing, and it's like that's too intimidating. I don't know what to do with
That's how
this.
I felt. And then,
Yeah.
Noah's sitting over here, fucking got this badass stick. He like drops it in my lap the other day when I came over. He's like, check this out. And I'm like,
Exactly.
You talk
It
about
looks-
leverless and stuff like that, and you're like,
It looks intimidating, but it's really like it's a lot easier because I mean, at least for me, like for Tekken, I use leverless, and all you gotta do is just use these as your buttons. It's just like playing on a keyboard, like you got your jump over here, you got your left, right, and down.
Put it this way: how did you get into fighting games?
Smash
Smash. Okay.
and arcade cabinets.
Smash.
There we go. Okay, that was gonna
Yeah.
be my. Thank you. You proved my point. Good.
Yeah.
Because I got into through Smash. Like, I appreciate it. No, I was gonna be like, okay, like if most of the people that played Tekken and Street Fighter, if they're part of like if they played before maybe the last 2 iterations of Street Fighter, maybe 3, they probably played at some point on an arcade cabinet. If they played 1, 2, or 3, they probably played in an arcade cabinet. And it's like if that's the only way you knew how to play,
Yeah.
like that's the way that you got brought up. I played Brawl on a Wiimote, like a sideways Wiimote, because Brawl was my first Smash game. But I was good at it. Like I went to tournaments with my sideways Wiimote and had to fucking pair it with the Wii by pressing the red sync button on the inside, and then I had like an automatically removable back for my thing, like because I just never you had to hit the pair button every time to pair
Hold
with the
up.
different switches.
Wait a second. So
Yeah.
you're going around and you're pairing this constantly.
Yes.
I know your grandfather.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just drill a hole in the back?
So, like, what? I'm supposed to walk around to tournaments with like a toothpick too?
a paper
Paperclip.
Like a paper clip?
I was
And,
gonna,
like,
I was gonna say you could tape one there, and it would just be
Now-
like, yeah, I could just poke this, and I'm
the
good.
real question is, why didn't I ask him to build a button on the outside?
Or that.
Right? That would have been the smart thing to do. And you know what? I was like 13, so calm down. I didn't think about that. I just knew that I just pulled the back off, press the red button, and I was good to go.
It was
You know?
whatever got him dubs, you know?
Yeah, it was whatever worked, man. You know, I had my like red sideways Wiimote because that's what I learned on. And then it was like, okay, well, now I'm playing Ultimate and these Joy-Cons are too tiny, you know? So I can't do this with the sideways Joy-Con, plus it's a sideways Joy-Con. So let me play on a GameCube because I had 2-3 GameCube controllers and it's like, all right, I'll just learn this, you know?
You know what?
So
I'm actually going to retract my last comment. I've seen your sub pump.
yeah, exactly. See, yeah, you know, as it works, right? Like, you know, Home Depot bucket. It's great.
So Noah Tyler, his sub pump is like literally just like
it's
Home
a
Depot
motor
bucket.
in a Home Depot
Yeah,
bucket.
it
works.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Why not? You know,
That's
New
what's
England
up.
weather. We love it.
What was the exact expression that you were told
It works.
when you were checking out? No, what was it? You should get that replaced.
Yeah, something like that. Or like you should eventually look to get that changed or something like that. It was like you should probably get that replaced, but you know, it works. It still works, which is great. But going back to like the controller thing, one of the other key pieces with like what are some of the like special upgrades you have on your fighting board?
Oh, I mean, my leverless is just a snack box micro, so it's already like a, you know, I would say like a custom, but it's like something that allows me to use every console if I wanted to. I only use that for Tekken now, because I had a big issue with my fingers freezing up doing level 1s, 2s, 3s on Street Fighter. But the stick has,
Show that quick release.
yeah, it does have the quick release.
It's fucking. I'm so pea-brained when he showed me that. I was like fiddling with it.
It does have the quick release. I'll just show you on this. It basically goes into the board, and I'll just show you.
It's like if you ever mess
Let
with
me de-blur my camera real quick because that seems to mess me up.
for the audio listeners, if you've ever seen like the quick release on like a hose for like a for like an air tank or anything like that, where you pull back the sheath and then connect them and then release it and it snaps together.
Yep.
That's kind of what's on the joystick on his fighting controller.
God damn it!
And it's got like a little thing that he can attach to his keyring and everything, which I think is dope.
Yeah, my buddy who made this controller for me designed all the art and made all the buttons for me and got me the purple button stick to match the Toto theme, who's ironically my favorite Jujutsu Kaisen character. Really my favorite character in general. And yeah, it's got, I don't know exactly what all the specs are in it, but they you can kind of see it in the back here. It's pretty custom. What are you waving at?
Ourselves a little bit.
Reflection.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just really funny.
I was like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'll have to ask him what the actual specs are because he kind of just, I told him what I wanted as the artwork and what I was hoping to achieve, and he was like, all right, I got you, and got it done in like 2 days. So I just know that it has it's a Canva stick, I'm sorry, a Sanhua stick, which is, it's essentially I don't know how to explain this. I'm gonna be honest with you, but there's Sanhua and there's Korean stick, and apparently Korean stick is like more responsive versus a Sanhua. So it just depends on responsiveness, but I mean, you can do either one and it works just fine. You just have to, it's just something you have to get used to.
I know.
But
oh, keep going. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, one of the things I know with the fighting boards is like that people will have like modifications to it to either have like faster response time or like input macros as well, where like they can hold down certain keys and makes it a little bit easier to do like, some of the individual combos that if you had a stick, it's like you're gonna start ruining your stick because you gotta like what is it, like 45 down, 45 down kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Quarter circle inputs.
Quarter circle.
It also really depends on the game too, because Tekken does allow for that, where you can set a button to, because like with this one, you have all the buttons on this side are for moves, and then these four are for the movements. But I mean, like you can set like I have this button set to a 2 and a basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this button I have right here. I play Feng Wei in Tekken, so he has a move called the Shoulder Bash, and this button sets to these two right here, which is how it comes out. And you can do that with other ones. Like I have the others set up for grabs, which you have to do 2 buttons at a time. So it really just depends on the game, that and if they allow that. But I mean, you can get controllers like the Hout. I think it's Hout or Howdy, or I don't know how it's pronounced, where you can have more than just these buttons. Like some of them will have bigger boards, and then we'll have more buttons up here, like a
You
button
talking
up
about the
here.
hot twos?
Yeah, the one you have.
Yeah.
And they'll have extra buttons elsewhere that you can set up for macros, but I'm old fashioned, so
I know partial of it is somewhat controversial in some of the games where it's like some of the hardware is making these changes that are, somewhat causing unfair advantages, or we shouldn't say unfair advantages, we should say like kind of pay to win. If I'm going to pay for the better hardware, it can be a bit more difficult. So I know that's come up a couple of times with like the Evo stuff is, if I'm willing to pay for $1,000 board, should I have an advantage, right?
I
Even
mean,
if it's
yeah,
minor.
there's the hitboxes that are coming out where they're leverless, and they have essentially for this, which is normally a jump, they have like a little. It's kind of like a trigger basically, but it's more like instead of it just being a button, it's a button and then like a little extra that you can rotate around. And I watched a video about this the other day, and it's basically allows you to do the quarter circle inputs a lot easier. So like you hit it and then it does it for you instead of having to do the 2-finger method. So that is, I think it's personally controversial because that seems like definitely pay to win. Uh, Most of the stuff I've seen though is more or less like if you buy straight from a brand like Snackbox or Mayflash or one of those, like you will have to. I just lost my train of thought with this.
It happens.
Yeah, no,
It happens all the time.
yeah. Most of the time that I've seen, oh, I remember. Most of the stuff that I've seen for the more expensive boards is like you buying the compatibility to PlayStation 5, because most of those games are running on PlayStation 5. And with the new controllers that they have now, where it's the new DualShock or whatever, that I like to call it the PlayStation tax, basically, where you're basically spending an extra $100 that you wouldn't normally to have that, because you have to have that compatibility, otherwise it just won't work.
Mhm.
And that's why controllers like the Howdy, you would have to buy like an adapter to be able to have that, playability with the PlayStation. But that's as far as I've seen personally. I don't really do a lot of research with the controllers, just because those two work perfectly for me. But like I said, the hitbox definitely, I think, has some pay to win aspects because of that little thing they have for the up button.
It's kind of
the
like
way it,
the scuff version.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, of fighting controllers.
The Razer Kitsune might even have that too, because it's a Razer, and you as you all know, you can set Razer macros to any of the Razer products. So, I mean, more than likely, there are going to be some little advantages you can do with that as well.
I mean, at what point do those advantages start to matter? Like in a competitive scene, you're going to be playing on a neutral console.
I mean, yeah,
So
that's the thing too. Like the tournaments are run on PlayStation, like I said, so they like you're not even playing on a PC. So, and most of the time, like in top eights, you'll see people just having normal custom sticks, like my Toto one, or like they call it the Cadillac of sticks. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's like it starts with a V, and they'll just have normal sticks that they buy straight from the brand, instead of just doing stuff like the Razer Kitsune. So from what I've seen, it doesn't really provide that much of an extra advantage. just because it
And
all relies on skill too.
you mentioned something important when you're going to a tournament. These tournaments are played on LAN. And
Mhm.
a big piece of this is if you are
Most of them.
practiced on a specific piece of equipment and a specific piece of hardware and they don't have it, you are at a slight disadvantage if your opponent has, more practice on that piece of hardware. I see that
It's
all the time with traditional games where you're starting to see people where they have, again, for college, they have arenas that have 240 hertz monitors. Some of them are now getting like the 320 hertz monitors. And then they go to LANs and they have like 60 hertz, 144 hertz monitors. And people are missing shots because, they're used to some like an upgraded piece of equipment. And, they just start misaiming and they're just uncomfortable. So
that's
yeah.
That's completely true. Yeah. And not even that, like playing on a PC versus playing on a PlayStation, there are going to be slight input delays between the two. Like I'm more used to playing on PC just because that's what I have. I don't have a PlayStation, but like my first Tekken tournament I went to, I did horrible at because I was not ready for the difference in input delay between the two. Even though it doesn't seem like there's a lot, there is it's like significant enough to mess you up a little bit. So it's definitely, that's another big factor as well. Not even just a monitor thing. And I don't really know. I don't know normally what type of monitors most of the, like I went to a Street Fighter tournament recently in my area, and I don't really know what's monitors they had there, but I for some reason I did way better there than at my Tekken tournament, my first one. So
I
they
think the
must have
Tekken
had
tournament was a lot of nerves too. So it was
yeah,
like
it
your
was
first big tournament, right?
in a long time, pretty much
Yeah.
since I stopped playing Smash, which would have been 4 years. So 4 years,
It's kind of
3 years,
daunting.
I don't remember, but it definitely was daunting. I will admit that, but I don't know what was different about the Street Fighter one. I fully expected to go 0-2 or 1-2 at least, and I got out in losers semis or losers quarters or one of the two, and I was just shocked with myself because I'm not as good at Street Fighter that I am at Tekken. So I
Have
don't know.
you have you heard about the lossless adapter that the Swedish company put out? I think they're Swedish. It was some European company put
No,
out for Smash. So they did a bunch of research on like the actual input
like
delay.
lossless as in net play.
No. So they're calling it their lossless adapter. It is like a lossless GameCube adapter. And what it is it's like the official GameCube adapt. They did a whole like study on they have like a graph and everything of like how much input delay there is. And one of the big findings they found was that the official um GameCube adapter, the one that you have to like get for your Switch to plug in, a GameCube controller to, it loses, what is that, 5.44 milliseconds. Okay, so again, milliseconds here. We're not even, it's less than a frame, zero point 0.3 frames in terms of your presses. But any of the like third party ones, the Cloud Dream, Hitbox, the Mayflash, which you see, are way, way higher. Like the Cloud Dream is 14 milliseconds. The May flashes, which are pretty common because they're cheap, is almost 20 milliseconds. Where pro controllers, if they're just using the regular Bluetooth, are 7.5. So they're worse than the official. But if they're wired in, they're like 20 milliseconds. It's 21.86 according to this graph. So like if you go to a tournament and they're using official ones, and that is like the standard is to use the official ones, you actually have a slight advantage if you're using a GameCube controller. But if you don't play on an official one and like your opponent's playing a pro controller, they have a slight advantage. So they made a lossless adapter that one like even more heavily favors the plugged in GameCube controllers. It's 2.2 milliseconds now, so it's half of like the official one. So people were talking about it like, is that going to be standards at tournaments? But more or less, like if you actually purchase it and you're playing on it, now you're training yourselves like 2.2.5 milliseconds, right? From what your actual like tournament play is. And so there was a whole big discussion of, what if you're playing Wi-Fi and you're looking to get GSP and you're playing in these Wi-Fi tournaments, and I actually do have, the lossless adapter and everything, and I play you in a Wi-Fi tournament. I have a slight advantage over the person who, is probably sitting at home and might not have that, right? And might not have those means. So it's coming down to like really nitty gritty things with a lot of the equipment that we see. So it's interesting to kind of look at where that might go in the future.
I think at some point in the near future, we're going to do a whole episode on just input stuff because there's been some talk. Has anybody here heard of Snapback? SnapTap?
Oh, yeah.
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 I'm the only one in the dark, so I'm going to assume the rest of our listeners are. What is...
For you, real quick, Taco, SnapTap is a new feature, and for anybody else who may be unaware, SnapTap is a new feature that came out from Razer, I believe.
That sounds about right.
Basically now when you AD strafe, it actually is set up so that if you press down both keys, you stop moving. This is set up so that it immediately kicks into whatever the new input is.
They call that on a fighting game stick, like leverless, they call that SOCD. It does the same thing.
And I'm trying to remember, there were 2 games already who came out and were like, yeah, this is banned. You cannot use this. If we detect it, we will ban your account.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know one of them was Counter-Strike. I don't remember what the other one was.
That sounds about right for Counter-Strike.
Dying game.
Not a dying game. That game ain't dying.
It's so really popular.
Yeah,
it's doing okay.
It's no Minecraft popularity, but we talked about Minecraft in another episode. How they're at like,
we did.
Would we say like 144 million active users still?
Something like that. It was well over 100
for a 15-year-old game, 14-year-old game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
now
insane.
they got rid of the mob vote, so I bet you they're gonna.
That's what we were talking about. Yes. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I remember one of my in my friend group, the first one to get like a high refresh rate monitor. We were all playing Siege at the time, and he was like the first one with like 144 hertz. All of us were still at like 30 to 60. And I remember watching, like, I was dead. I was spectating him, and it was a 1v1 situation. And I heard the gunshot, and then thought he had lost, but then realized that it like had said victory for the round. And I was like, hold on, run that back by me. And I even was recording at the time, and I like recorded it. I went back and looked at it, and there was in between the frames that was rendering for me, since they were half, he had shot in between those frames and won the round. And that's when I was like, shit, I need to get a higher refresh rate monitor, because that if it comes down to stuff like that, that's insane to me. That one frame can make a difference, Yeah.
It's funny you say that too, because a lot of people in games like that will switch back to basically a 4:3 aspect ratio almost, or I don't remember. It's like a 16:9, I think it is, where they'll have that stretched aspect ratio and still will go back to 60 frames just to have that clean. Like in people in Valorant, whenever the game was first, well, I mean, it's still pretty big, but when it was in like the midway point for the competitive scene, people would switch to the stretched aspect ratio and switch it back to 60 frames per second, and then would just play on that and then be doing really insanely well.
I remember people in CSGO would do that, where they'd set it to the 4:3 because it put
That's what I was thinking of, 4:3.
Yeah, it put their UI more into their like central vision instead of being out in their peripheral.
But it still made the reticle very stretched in the middle, so you would basically see the person in the head, and then
Yeah, and CSGO was weird about that too, because when you were spectating someone like that, you would see their UI in 4:3, but the rest of the game would still be in 16:9.
That's weird.
Yeah,
I didn't play much CSGO. I want
to see that with an ultra wide.
Right. Yeah, I saw it. Well, I mean, there were a lot of
playing without a UI.
Even Rainbow Six users were doing that for a little while just to bring their UI in. Like, what's his name?
Bolo.
Yeah, Bolo did it.
Bolo does it. He still does.
He probably does.
He actually got me to start doing it, and I was like, wow, this guy's doing really well on this. And obviously he's a pro, but he was selling it to me. So I started it, and I was like, Okay, this is way better. I should have been doing this a long time ago. Because
Yeah.
it makes aiming down the sight of the gun, like if you have an ACOG sight, it makes it so much easier to aim that. It's so incredibly amazing. Got a little vape sesh over there.
Don't out me, man. All right. Yeah, we'll start wrapping things up. It's getting towards the end here. Talked about a lot of good stuff. I guess we'll make this kind of a man. I feel like this is going to be a really loaded question, but I kind of want to ask it.
Do it.
Go
Do
for
it.
If you could make one change to your favorite fighting game, whether it's a character tweak, mechanic adjustment, or like a mode addition, what would it be?
Well, I will start. I think personally for Tekken, if we balance the top 5 characters in the game will be a lot more enjoyable for other people. Because
People
we're
want to break their
in
monitors.
yeah, well, yeah, we're in the age of Dragunov right now, I will say, and it is very slowly coming towards when Smash 4 had Bayonetta. Like, people are just whipping out a Dragunov at every chance they can just because they know they'll win with him. So, nerf Dragunov, and that's really all I have for me, personally. My character's a top 5 character, and I think he should deserve to be nerfed because he's got some very strong tools. And I think that will definitely balance the game a lot more, because I feel like, at least in my area, people are not holding a lot of Tekken tournaments or having a lot of big turnouts anymore because of that. I think it's definitely because of that. So
That's fair.
I think once Heihachi drops finally, my OG, they will hopefully do a balance patch, a big one. So we'll see. Keep fingers crossed, but um that's really my thing. Those are my 2 games that I play. Street Fighter, I think, is way more balanced than Tekken, I would say.
Paradox.
I'm trying to find. Okay, I think it's continually patching Smash. Like, honestly, like,
Did they
just
stop that though, or?
oh yeah. So that's what I was googling. Is I was like, when was the actual like last official patch? So they always did, because that was the problem why like Bayonetta was busted, was that she was added on the last patch. Like that was literally, so they're patching it, but it's like amiibo support because they're releasing amiibos because they need to monetize more because they're Nintendo. Oh yeah, the last patch was in February technically, and that was the last official full patch, and that was where they added support for Sora's amiibo. So when you go buy Sora's amiibo, you can use it in the game. But like the last balance patch was 3 years ago. That was the last time they balanced characters, and that was the problem with Smash 4, where like Bayonetta was added on the last patch, and they said good luck,
Real quick,
Zach, you cannot leave that on the internet. Do
I
not
guessed
put
it.
that on the internet.
I know you were laughing at me, but I'm laughing at your stupid blur because I picked up your cowboy hat in the background and thought it was a
Oh
person.
yeah, that's the one that
Yeehaw.
Bandito got me.
Excellent.
Yeehaw.
I was just sorry, Paradox. I
No,
didn't
you're
interrupt
good.
you. It was just Zach fucking deep throating that Mountain Dew fucking sent me over the hill.
You never
Hey,
know.
man.
I could put that on YouTube Shorts, put some smooth jazz behind it. You never know.
Do the do.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, anyways, it's been 3 years, right? Like, just keep patching the game, keep it fresh. Like, that's the reason that original or Smash 4 died, was like Bayonetta was overpowered, the console was dying. They've been saying that, oh, the Switch 2 is going to get released, but like, if you just kept patching the game until the next one is released, you're not going to have an Overwatch situation. You knew it was going to come up. We can't do an episode without mentioning Overwatch.
You know?
Can I add to
Tried
that?
really
Like,
hard.
can I just quickly add to that?
Sure.
I feel like they do need to make the Switch 2 though, because they keep adding games like I don't know what game they just announced recently, but not Metroid, but like some AAA game. I can't think of it off the top
The
of my
Zelda
head right
game?
now. Not the Zelda
Tears of the
game.
Kingdom. No.
No, it's not a Switch, not a Nintendo exclusive game. It's like one that's been on every console. I just can't think of it right now, but they keep adding these games to the Switch that is basically a 10-year-old system at this point, or almost. And basically it doesn't support it well. Like I play Fortnite on a PC and I play with my girlfriend who plays on Switch. And that even on the Switch, like that game struggles to run sometimes. Like it freezes, it'll have glitches where the guns will look like it's firing even though it's not. And like they keep adding these games to a 10-year-old system expecting it to work well just because they want to sell and make more money for the Switch. I think they do need a new Switch badly, and I'm hoping that they do release it soon because from what I hear, it's supposed to be close to the PlayStation 4 Pro as, or similar. And I'm hoping that's true because you need it. We need it.
Nintendo has been seriously underpowered. The Switch was I was trying to find it real quick and I'm not going to be able to, but like the chip that they ended up using it was years old at the point that the Switch came out. It's been underpowered. It's going to continue to be underpowered. They need something that actually has some horsepower behind it.
I just
Like,
think
I
they
get-
Like
didn't
they
have
made-
competition for the longest time.
They
But
made
now with Rogue and Steam coming out with all their handheld devices,
like they're
and I think that's going to
severely
definitely push them in
behind.
gear.
yeah.
That was going to be a comment. I love Pokemon Unite. That's like one of my favorite MOBAs. It would be a top 5 esport if it wasn't like exclusive to mobile and the Switch. Have you seen them when they play at like when they played at the Pokemon World Championship? They're all on iPads.
No, I didn't.
And it's really, really funny to watch like pro gamers playing on an iPad.
That's
It's very, very funny. Like go watch them, please.
it makes
That's
sense.
funny. You should watch Clash Royale esports. That will send you
Because
over
that's
the
also
moon.
on an iPad, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so funny trying to be like, yep, we can play our game on an iPad.
They're
It's
like-
like, come on, yes, and it's like, oh, it's comical, but I really wish if I had mouse and keyboard and I could play, Pokemon Unite on mouse and keyboard. Oh my,
It's like read the
I wouldn't
room,
be here
Nintendo.
anymore. You can get me
Can't
on
you
another.
hook up a mouse and keyboard onto an iPad Pro?
You
Yes.
probably could.
Yes, you can.
But I'm not buying an iPad Pro to play Pokemon Unite. Like,
No, but I can see you buying an iPad Pro for other reasons.
no, I'm not buying an iPad Pro for Pokemon Unite. Maybe
Actually, I
can
shouldn't
tell
even say
Works
it.
to get
That's
I
a
can see you
steep price.
getting an iPad Pro.
Yeah,
It is a
exactly.
for a free game. That's a very steep price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather just like, I don't know, get a decent emulator that's not going to actually get me banned and then just play it on PC and call it a day. And I would spend way too much time on it. But again, if the Switch 2 is good enough, maybe we just, put it on there. And
Like
it's
the
okay.
one real update they made to the Switch was the OLED screen, and they didn't change anything else about it.
Nope.
They changed nothing except the screen, and it still sucks. Like, come on. And I have a
Yeah.
Switch. I have the Smash Edition Switch, so mine is as old as they get. And I mean, it still runs perfectly. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't excuse the fact that a lot of the games they try to release on it still suck.
For the
Unless
most
they're
part,
Nintendo
Nintendo has done well with their consoles, not because the console is actually good.
It's
Nintendo 64.
reliable.
Yeah,
It's not even that. They make good games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're exclusives.
I gotta
So
give
like
them
what
that
else are
too,
you gonna
yeah.
do?
Mm-hmm.
like
But
they did
like-
announce Metroid Prime 4 finally, and I will be getting that, of course, because I'm a big Metroid Prime fan. But that's beside the point, okay? If it runs well, I'll excuse it, but it has to run well.
Well, and Zach and I are both incredibly hyped for ZA when that comes out
Yeah.
in March.
I bet it's gonna run like shit.
It's gonna run so bad, but I'm excited for it. That is Pokemon
Yeah.
Legends ZA. They made the Legends Arceus games like almost 2 years ago at this point, maybe even 3. I don't know. Time
Close
is.
to 3.
They're re-releasing them, or they're making new ones?
They're making a second one. They're making
No.
it's Legends ZA, and because that one sold really, really well. And the thing is everybody thought like that was going to be the launch Pokemon for the Switch 2, and they were like, nope, Switch 1, March of 2025. Good luck. And it's like, oh, all right.
People
well,
thought the same thing for Metroid Prime 4. They thought that they were going to announce the Switch 2 for that, and then it was going to be like, oh, finally the Switch 2, and then same deal.
and I ended up looking this up, Zach. Apparently, it's the Tegra X1 is the
Yeah.
system on a chip that was released in
SoC.
2015 apparently, and the Switch was released in 2016, so it was a year. But the CPU is the Cortex A57, which was released in 2012. So it's a 12-year-old CPU and
And it's an
a
old ARM
a
chip.
9-year-old like graphics with 4 gigabytes of RAM. I did not know it only had 4 gigabytes of RAM. Like
Yeah.
that's tough. You know, that is a tough system when I'm thinking about how much my PC has. Like that's tough.
Yeah, well,
It's relax. It's
PC gamers are a little different. We don't need optimized games because we can just power through it.
Well, yeah, that's true. We can just lower all the or frames per second over graphical looks. That's how I
yeah,
play,
all
honestly,
low,
so
all low, maximum frames.
exactly.
Yep. So, anyways, but yeah,
My brainy
it's
didn't brain.
if they could keep patching Smash, I think that honestly the game would be just serviceable. And then honestly, they say, okay, we're gonna release Alt 2 when we release the Switch 2, and you just give everybody the same characters and you do the DLC, the whole thing over again. But you're like, yep, it's the exact same game. Like we didn't make any changes with Alt 2, we just kept patching it, you know, and you keep selling it that way, or I don't know, figure it something out, but just keep patching Smash. It deserves it. It's keeping your esports scene alive. So yeah,
I would say if Tekken had more balance patches than what they currently get right now, then it could probably be a lot better. Not that it isn't good or anything, but it definitely doesn't get as much attention as like Street Fighter or any of the other current fighting games that are out right now.
Well, I don't have a favorite fighting game, so
Yes, you do. It's Tekken.
Okay, it's Tekken. I don't know enough about Tekken. Buff the feet, I guess.
Yeah,
You know,
dude came over. I introduced Tekken to him. He came over, made an Elisa skin, and took the shoes off, and then was
because
like, "All right, I'm done."
if you're gonna add that option, like you gotta go with that option. If you have the option to go no shoes, especially
mean,
when it says under my
no.
name card, "Excuse my feet." That's amazing. It's
my
just
God.
all right there. Jokes write themselves.
Jesus.
Zach, did you have any input?
No, I got
besides-
nothing. I'm just gonna say it's pretty impressive that we got through a whole fighting game episode and nobody else brought up Pokken.
Dude,
God damn it, we're gonna have to do a part 2 now.
I could go a lot of time talking about Pokken and how it's basically just Pokemon Tekken, but it has rock, paper, scissors more in depth. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh
I
man.
was gonna say people still play Pokken. Like it's still
Yeah.
popular. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Shit.
I don't know how many TikTok streams I've ran into where it's just Pokken lately. It's weird. Suddenly it's like coming back right now, or it didn't die, or I don't know what happened, but it's becoming more prevalent now.
I'm also gonna say we kind of mentioned only the like the old people ones too, like no Brawlhalla, no Rivals of
That's the
Aether.
other thing.
You know,
yeah,
those were the
Brawlhalla.
ones. The absolute failures that were NASB and Multiverses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't even bring up any of those, so good for us. So
I think
maybe there's a
uh,
part 2.
A lot of self.
Yeah, I
There-
think so.
Oof. We got to do a part 2 then, because
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part 2.
I have a lot to say on those too. I have a lot to say on those
Good.
too. Dang it.
Me too. That's
Good.
especially
we could-
NASB. That's gonna be a fun one. But
You know what?
I-
We'll
yeah.
put that on our schedule. We'll do fighting game failures.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
That would be great.
that would be
Well,
tough.
Means it's time to get into our real world segment.
yeah, I was gonna say, Noah, you're kind of new here, so at the end of every episode, we like to finish it off with a real world segment, basically telling the people about what you got going on in your life outside of gaming, or maybe just outside of this podcast. Just kind of depends. So, I think Noah may have a second to think on it, but if he's got something, you're more than welcome to go first.
I mean, the main thing you guys could do is follow my Twitch stream. It's at himboahTV. I do a lot of fighting game streams and sometimes horror games. I play Deadlock on Mondays, so that's really the main thing I do a lot of the times is streaming and practicing. So
Check out our stream.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Also, subscribe if you're not subscribed.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
If you're going for his stream,
It's
we'll put it down in the bio.
$5.
On your way down, you can just hit
Oh, we're
subscribe.
free. Sorry.
It's just $5 or a Twitch Prime sub, super
Yeah,
easy. Everyone's got Amazon Prime, all right?
Mhm.
Wow.
It comes with
Wow.
it comes free with it.
Make a
Most
day
people
out of
have
it. Have the
Amazon
whole
Prime.
family go and subscribe to the Sweaty Casuals podcast and to Noah stream.
Exactly.
Paradox, what you got going on?
I think the last time I was on, I talked about Magic, and so I'm going to talk more about
yeah,
Magic.
it became a YouTube short.
It was a really good short. But, Dustmorn comes out this Friday, which is really cool, at least from the time that we're recording this. So that's going to be an interesting set. But I also undertook the horrible task of just sorting my collection at this point, because it's just
Oh God.
it's been a bit, and if I
He had
actually
that ready.
showed my camera and everything, these are different stacks of cards that I'm just picking up of just ones that I've decided where I'm updating my commander decks. For those that don't know what commander is, you play singleton, so you can only have one copy of each type of card, and I decided to make every color combination, so I have one for all of the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 color combinations. And so these are just the cards that I've identified as maybe being able to go into the deck, but this was a huge mistake. I think I started about 2 months ago at this point. I have all of the cards back in boxes that aren't good, so I have a ton of my bulk commons over here. But my desk is full. Is it gonna mess you up if I pull my camera down and show my desk right now?
Just
Won't mess
ballpark.
gonna
How
be
many
up. Might
cards
mess
do you
you
think
up.
you have
Okay,
in Magic
yeah.
the
All
Gathering?
right. So we'll just take a look. There's just a ton of stacks of cards, and it was a mistake. This
And
was an absolute mistake. Those are just the
and
ones
the worst
that have
part
been
is, I know you well enough to know that's not even a fraction of your
No,
collection.
those are the good cards. Those are literally the cards that have been identified as good. And for
Are they,
some
though?
reason, I started consuming TikTok content now of Magic because that's all the algo decided, because I accidentally bought something on Amazon 3 days ago or something like that. And it was telling me yeah, you remember those pre-cons, that came out in God only knows when? Yeah, Edgar Markov is $150 card now. That's really cool because he's only been printed once. And you go, wow, I have 3 of those. That's nice. And they're sitting in that pile right there. So yeah, you
Just,
have questions. Go for it.
Just
I'm
a
here.
I just have one question. Just ballpark estimate. How much money do you think you've spent on all or any of your Magic alone?
Okay. So I thought about this a while ago. I've been playing since 2008, but I wasn't really heavily invested until 2013. And then from 2013 onwards, it was probably $600 a year, right around there is what I would anticipate. So at least
Everyone's whipping out a
$8,000 to
calculator.
$9,000, if I were to say, is what I've spent. But I also typically get really good pulls, and then people who get out of the hobby have also given me cards anyways. So I would probably value my collection somewhere in the, because it's a lot of older stuff too, $15,000 range to $17,000 range.
That's a down payment on a house.
Yeah, Jesus.
Well,
No, that tracks.
Yeah, it's just an estimate, but there was also a point too where I had friends who worked at Hasbro, and so they would actually get me into the employee store, and so I was buying boxes. So boxes normally retail for $100, but Hasbro actually had a employee store, and they're not even there anymore, so I don't care sharing this. But I got a box
Okay,
of
I was
War
gonna
of the-
ask.
No, they are long gone at this point. They had a whole but they bought me a box of War of the Spark for $65. So a
Wow.
whole booster box. That thing has 36 packs in it. So it's that right there. I was making money hand over fist just opening booster boxes. And there was a small period where it's the way that I did the sets is I would do the pre-releases. And that's another thing too, is I usually do well at the pre-releases. And the way that they give prizing there is they don't give you money. Why would they do that? They give you more packs to fuel the addiction. So you walk out you paid for 6 packs, but you walked out with 12 because you won the pre-release or you got second or third, right? But yeah, I would get the bundles, and the bundles are, they come in with small boxes. They have a bunch of packs in them, and that was where you would make a lot of money because again, you just contact the Hasbro person. They're normally $50. He could get you them for 28. So it's different. So
That's insane.
yeah. Oh, actually, I'll hold on because it's right here. This is the coolest thing. This I did spend money on, and I just because we're doing the segment now, but I would love to do a Magic segment. Just gonna say, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive This was $250.
Wow.
I know that much, and I looked it up the other day, and I know like one that stayed in the pack is like $400 now, 500. So these things just keep going up. So it's like if you have these things, like they do go up in value too if you bought them
Yeah.
from forever ago. So
Trading cards too.
trading cards. We love
Yeah,
them.
trading cards have an insane resale value, especially in a few years, and it blows my mind every day how much more you could like sell them for. Like especially Pokemon cards too. I just saw you like fist bump the air. Let's go. Got the
Yeah.
Pokemon cards on lock.
So
I
how
got
do
my
you-
Gen 1s. They're all in a binder.
Oh, nice.
I can't
Yeah,
imagine how
if
much my Pokemon cards are either. I haven't looked those up.
see, I see people's like collections,
Were
and I feel
you
stupid.
OG collection?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a
So
first
you've got
edition.
original printings?
I got a first edition foil Blastoise that I got to go sell. So, like,
Yeah, that'll do
I
it.
know that one is worth a crap ton, but I have a like a baby white, like the old like plastic
Yeah.
ones that you got in the 90s and everything that
Yeah.
just has random first edition commons in it. Because I opened it up and I was like, oh, okay, there's just Pokemon cards in here. But every first edition is now like $3 or $5. So, but
What is it? One of my favorite fun facts is like Pidgey is super weirdly overpriced.
yes,
And it's because they were so common that people started throwing them out.
I just looked this up too because I saw it when I put it back. But this is the HasCon exclusive, which has like some really interesting cards that aren't actually playable. Apparently, like people are selling that one on eBay for like 150, like because people just didn't go to HasCon. They don't go to these events, so you buy these exclusives, you keep them in this thing. I just looked it up, like the whole thing. I got it for $35. This whole thing, like people, it's crazy. So that's Magic. Got back into it on accident, and now it fueled the addiction correctly. And yeah, this isn't good. So
I listen to people talk about their collections a lot, and I actually did have Pokemon cards when I was a kid, but I was super in the dark about resale value, and so I did not treat them well. I didn't have anyone to play it. I mean, not that they were like bent and stuff, but they were like kept not in binders and collectors and stuff like that. So I always feel stupid when people talk about how much their collection is worth, and I'm like, I could definitely be sitting pretty nicely right now because if I would have just knew about it sooner.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Zach,
I
what
don't
Live and
really
learn.
have anything to talk about for the real world.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of wildlife.
Yeah, he's under an
That's-
NDA. He can't talk about it.
I am, but not about exactly what's going on in my general life. No, I've seen a lot of wildlife lately. Had a weird incident last night. Bear tried to get in the trunk of the pickup that I'm using. Kind of about it.
what'd you do?
Shoot it. No.
I
Yeah,
realized
why
that
not?
after the
Like,
no, I'm not allowed to do that.
Oh.
No, it's a pickup truck with a cap on it. And the only reason I even knew that anything happened was because I remember like actually looking back through the window and being like, the cap's closed. God, that window's so damn tinted, I can barely see anything out there. And I happened to walk outside last night and go, that cap's open. I didn't leave it open. Yeah, it was that, and then the moose freaked me out a little bit too, just because I was on the highway. Moose scare you. They're big. They're real big. And I'm doing 45, and I'm like, please don't jump out in front of me.
Moose are scary, man. You don't hit them things.
They are. They're
You don't hit
dumb
a
murder
moose. A
tanks.
moose hits you.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in a 3,000-pound vehicle. Them things are
The
scary.
moose will get up and say, and.
Yeah. Yeah. And what? Huh? You ain't getting my insurance. No, I haven't really been doing anything either. Just because, I mean, I've had new things, but I already talked about everything in a previous episode. So, my biggest
Sorry.
thing has been gaming on the PS5 with my Sonos system. So that Dolby
Ooh.
Atmos gaming is a completely different experience. It's fun. No, you gotta come over sometime and try it out. I think I'm gonna go back
down.
and buy. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back and buy the Star Wars games for it and replay them.
Did
on
you
it.
did you
Survivor and
fix
stuff?
that?
Yeah.
No.
Did you
That
fix
fix-
that box you had issues with or whatever?
Yeah.
Or did you get a new one?
I had to buy another one that had a higher bit rate and supported CEC. But once I got that and got it all programmed and everything, works just fine. But yeah,
Tyler, I'm doing pretty well in the fantasy league we're in.
I know.
And,
I know. Fucking
you gotta pick up some dubs, bro.
dude. Okay. Anyway.
Send us
All
out.
right. Yeah. All right. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the discussion today. We release these episodes weekly, but if that's not often enough for you, we are always available in the Snowflake Sanctuary Discord server. Or for some of us, we're available on Twitch and stuff like that. So feel free to go check us out wherever.
Check out himboahTV.
Yep, himboahTV. If you want to offer your own insight, have any ideas for what you want to hear, or just think we sound like a cool group of people to chill with, then click that link in the description. Thanks again to Himboah and Paradox for joining us on this episode. It was quite the journey. And thank you to everyone else for listening. We hope to see you in the next one. Bye.
See ya.
It's kind of a tradition here that we all wave bye. So, thank you.
Welcome. Yep.
You didn't give me a warning.
No,
It's-
I just
Surprise!
assumed you would read the room.